All right, so our next thing we're going to work on is assignments. I promised this was going to be an easy one, and it is. Again, it's almost the exact same as pages. We just have to check some boxes and make some selections at the end. So let's click on assignments. Okay, and we have our add assignment button. I will say real quickly, you'll notice the add group button as well. We're not going to deal with this now. We'll deal with this later in the class, but you do actually have the option of creating weighted grading in your class. That's the thing where, 20% of your grade is labs, 30% is homework, 50% is projects, something like that. We're not going to throw that in right now because we're kind of working in a straight line, but we will make a video available later, either this week or next, going over the steps of how to go about weighting your grades in your class. But for now, let's just click on assignment, and that interface should look really familiar. So if you want a sneak peek, there's a little bit down here that we're going to add to it. But give your assignment a name. I'm going to call this Final Resume. We've obviously skipped some assignments and gone right to the final project. And I'm going to cheat and paste it into there. You notice again the same interface. You can still do the same things you did on pages. For example, you can give them a picture or a diagram and say, this is an engine or this is an abscessed tooth or something like that. What would your first step be? Or what's your diagnosis? Or how would you begin the procedure? Something like that. So it doesn't have to be a text test or assignment. You can put links to a video or to a web page. For example, a common thing might be in an English class, put a link to a video and then ask them, do you agree or disagree with the speaker's main points? Or what do you think the speaker's main idea was? Something like that. So I've done mine. I told them what the assignment was, and then I've told them I didn't give them a formal rubric. I just put some steps saying, here's what I'm going to grade you on. What's your grammar? How does it look? What sort of language do you use? Things like that. So you can make this as formal and informal as you want. But again, we dial in this text box that we have so that we've given them the correct instructions to go through. Once we're done with that, we go through and just make some basic selections here. The first question is how many points? This is a big assignment, so I'm going to make it worth 50. It asks for assignment groups. Again, we're going to skip this. This is going back to that weighted grade we talked about. You can actually say which group I want to put this in, like assignments, homework, lab, things like that. It asks how you want the grade displayed. Points is the most common thing. You can also give a percent, so if someone got 40 out of 50, you could display it as 80%. It still keeps the 40 points in there, by the way. It's just the way it's displayed. One to be aware of, by the way, that some people are very interested in, you have a complete incomplete, okay, which is one that I like to use. This is basically if there's something you have to do and get it done in order to proceed. Maybe there's a process everybody has to complete by week 3, and you're not going to grade it according to points. You're just going to say you've completed it or you haven't. So you do have that option. Okay? Our next question is, what type of submission is this? And we have 4, one of which we'll almost never use, but let's talk about the first 3. The first one is no submission, which might seem a little bit weird, but what that's talking about is something where they're not actually submitting anything to you, either online or even on paper. You're grading them. An observation might be something. Everybody works at the shop on Wednesday, and you go around and give people points for how good they're doing, or for participation, or for assisting, or maybe you ask them random questions, and if they answer it, they get 5 points. But you set up this grade in your Canvas gradebook, and then you go in and add the points later. Now you might ask, why would you do that? Well, I've already heard some of you talk about how you have 2 gradebooks, Canvas and Face-to-Face. This no submission assignment can actually remove that. What you'll do is you'll set up all of your face-to-face stuff, all of the grades that you do by hand, you put it in Canvas, and then you simply go through and add those grades when they're completed and when you've given them. That way, Canvas will do all your math for you, and you'll have documentation of every assignment in the class rather than have to keep 2 separate grade books. So that's what that no submission is. Online is the most common one. That's when someone is submitting something to you through Canvas. On paper means it's a paper assignment, like an essay. The last one is external tool, and that's almost never used, but that's if you've got something, maybe it's some specific software that people are going to use for an assignment. So we're going to go to online, And you notice we have 4 types of things they can submit to us. The first is a text entry. The most common thing of that would be if you're asking someone a short question like, what did you learn from this video? Or what do you think the main point is? Or, quiz them on what they learned in class. What are the 3 main tools that you would use in this procedure? So you don't want them to go through the hassle of typing the whole thing up into a Word document for, a 1-sentence answer or something. So you just click on text entry, and a box will open, and they'll just type their answer into it. All right. The next one is website URL. Not very common, but if someone was designing a website or using a website, they would just give you the URL of what they did, and then that would be saved in Canvas. The third option is media recordings. The most common thing there would be if someone was making a video of something they did. For example, a video of them washing their hands, or a video of them repairing something, or maybe an introductory speech that they did. They could actually submit that audio or video in Canvas. And the last one is probably the most common. It's the file upload. So someone's submitting something that they've created. It can be a Word document. It can be a spreadsheet if they're in accounting. It can be a PowerPoint presentation in a communication class, something like this. In my case, I'm going to click on File Uploads for this, and I do have the option of restricting what types of files. So since this is a resume, the only acceptable answers would be a Word document or a PDF file. So I'm going to restrict it. If someone tries to submit a spreadsheet to me, it's going to kick it out and say this isn't acceptable. Okay, so that is the submission type. We do have the options to do a group assignment. So if you want to make it a group assignment or to require peer reviews, we talked about that with the social presence. And then the last section we have is how are we going to assign this? So, the first option is who do we assign it to? That's usually going to be everyone, but do be aware that you have the option to assign it to different groups in the class, different groups of people. You have a due date, which obviously we're going to want. We're going to make this due on the 30th. One quick note, it prefers 11:59, which makes sense instead of midnight if you make it due at the end of the day. If you say that it's due midnight on October 30th, people aren't going to know which day that actually is. Do you mean midnight on Thursday, midnight Friday, and you're going to get 20 emails from people. So instead of midnight, always put 11:59. Okay? And then I'm going to say it's going to be available to students. If you want, you can limit the time. For example, if you don't want anyone to start on the assignment until the beginning of the week, or maybe until Wednesday after you've covered some information, you can do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say I'm good to go, so I'm going to click on Save, and I get a quick summary of what it is. I can look and see, okay, here's all my instructions, good, 50 points. They're going to submit a document or PDF file to me, and it's due October 30th for everybody. Great, so I'm happy with it. I'm going to click on Publish, and we're good to go. So that's it. Make a couple of assignments. You should be in good shape. Shouldn't be that difficult to do. As always, if you run into questions, let me know, but good luck.